I just wanted to come on and first of all say hello because it feels like it's been so long and I'm just jumping on. It wasn't I didn't want to have a time, a specific time because I'm having lots of athletes racing and I've been in meetings and I just wanted to make sure I had the time for that. And yet here I am thrilled to be with you. And we have been talking all week about high intensity interval training. So I know that this has it's been discussed for a long time. And I remember when I was sitting in the kitchen of Melissa Hochschild and we were having breakfast and it was before a big long ride and the television was on and it was on the news and they were talking about this high intensity interval training and you could do just 5 minutes a week. And it was from this Canadian researcher and McGill. And, of course I peek up because here I am in Australia and they're talking about this research that was coming out of, actually, I think it was McMaster actually. And it was, this idea of how do we maximize our effort and what is the biggest bang for our buck and why is it that high intensity interval training, otherwise known as Tabata, or, really intense efforts on with a short rest in between. How do we do it right? What are all the, pieces of it that make sense? And what I want to simplify it. And I also want to give you a little bit of data. I had a fantastic session with the Team Element members this morning, and it was not, it was a zone 5 effort. So we did 5 times 4 minutes at a very, like, I call it my heave like a donkey pace and power. And it was tough. And on Tuesday, we did the high intensity interval session. And I wanted to just kind of take a look at both of those and say, okay, so what is it that we're taking from these sessions when we're doing intensity? What is it that we're actually trying to take on for our heart, for our performance, whatever it might, for our health, for our bringing up the cortisol, if we're bringing in, energy, what is it about that? And so I just wanted to share some of my analysis really and my thinking on it. The very first thing is that when we come into anything with high intensity, it is with intention. And I use this a lot and I say it a lot, is that if you're going into an intensity session, go into it. And if you're not able to, for whatever reason, you're fatigued, you didn't sleep well, you didn't have, your nutrition was off, you're dehydrated, you just can't, the oomph isn't there, then let it go. Because high intensity is what we're really trying to achieve, is high intensity. And the way that we can understand that is through perceived effort or through heart rate or through power or through pace. But having some sort of indicator of what that means. Now, the challenge with perceived effort, and I just want to, normally when we come in with energy, it's an amazing tool. If, however, we come in undernourished or we're dehydrated or we're coming in with a lot of stress, what is it going to be? Your perceived effort for lower power, lower intensity is going to be higher. And therefore, what have we achieved? Because when we come into high intensity, the key is, the thing that I want everybody to take from this is that it's your heart working. It's your muscles working. It's the pump working. It's the blood that's rushing. It's the pushing through. It's the trying to get oxygen into our bodies. And if we're not doing that, because if we have fatigue, if we're not making those systems work, then we're just doing less than, and we're just getting more fatigued. And it may not be the time to really get that push. We might not be really getting what we're trying to achieve. So that's the first thing. It's come into with incredible intention and focus. And when we come into a Tabata, so I looked at the heart rate and the power of one of my athletes. She's a phenomenal athlete. And we were doing 8 times, 40 seconds on, 20 seconds easy. This was on the bike. And I looked at some other data from another athlete of mine as well. And they're reaching between 83 and 90% of their heart rate max when they're doing these sessions. These sessions, the total time in this Tabata hard, easy, hard, easy, hard, easy is about 7 minutes, because we build up to this. So we start shorter and then we build up and we do shorter sessions, more of them, or we do longer sessions and less of them, so less sets of them. And so we end up doing about 20 minutes, 23 minutes. And it's interesting because you're going to a heart rate of about, like 83 to about 90%. In the zone 5 session, my athletes were going between 85 and 90 some a little bit higher plus heart rate. That is incredible hard work, right? Think of duration of what they're holding this for, right? It's not just touching, it's touching and holding, it's working hard. And they are really coming into working that heart muscle for a duration of time. Their power is actually quite different as well. So if you're doing it for 4 minutes, the power was quite a bit higher and the heart rate was higher, but for less time than the Tabata intervals, which your heart rate was a bit lower, but you're holding it for longer. The point that I'm trying to make is that you're actually working different energy systems. Although it's a 40 on, 20 off, the average power was obviously lower, but the 40 seconds on power was higher. But the heart rate, what the heart was doing, was comparable, maybe a little bit lower because of the length of time that it was. It was over 7 minutes versus the zone 5, which had a higher heart rate for less time. Why I'm sharing this with you and what it is that I want to encourage and for you to think about is like, how do we come in with attention and what is the variability for which we're demanding of our muscles? And are you getting different ways of trying to push that body and push your body into different circumstances? And the reason that becomes important is like thinking about your muscles and thinking about the efficiency with what you're doing, thinking about how do we become comfortable and okay, because I don't think comfort is actually a word that we actually use in a zone 5 or a zone 4 or a Tabata or a HIIT or whatever it is, that kind of thing. That's not what we're aiming for. We're not aiming for comfort. We're actually aiming for uncomfortable. We're aiming to tolerate more pain. And so, and then feel super accomplished. Because let me tell you, by the end of these sessions, that my athletes were going, holy smokes, I just totally did something that made me feel really proud because I did it and I worked hard and I knew that I started this way, I finished this way, I took it on. And when we're stretching into hard things like a high intensity interval training, like a zone 5, and then we can say that I did that, I reached that, my heart worked, then it just builds our confidence and builds our whole way of being into, I'm progressing in my health. I'm continuously investing. I'm investing in my body. And there's nothing, how beautiful is that? I think the other thing that I wanted to say about the perceived effort and thinking about how do we, because we always think of it from a mindset, nutrition, training, and recovery. If you're going into these sessions without fuel, you will A, feel like it's really darn hard, and B, not hit those powers again. So the value of actually looking at your heart rate and looking at your power or looking at your pace with intention again, there's something there is matching. Okay, so how am I doing? If you're feeling like you have reached a plateau, if you're not sure why, we have a lot of challenge around body composition, or if you're feeling like you're not performing anymore, why is it that I'm getting slower? We want to actually, as athletes, as people that are going for something, you want to come intentional and but with this and say, okay, well, how am I taking it on? And am I reaching my performance best? And it doesn't have to be compared to anybody else. It's like, where am I going? I got to a heart rate of 85% last time. Can I do that again? How can I do it for a little bit longer? What's my tolerance there? And this is how we can sometimes use our tools. Do we have to use them all the time? No. Can we switch things up? Yes. There's no fixed way. Circuit training is like hit training, Tabata training. It's the idea is at the end of the day, is once in a while heave like a donkey. I'm fond of saying, I don't know why I love that, but get that heart rate up, feel it pumping, feel like, oh my goodness, we had sweat dripping off, and boy, wasn't it awesome. And we did it together. Make sure you try to, put yourself and stretch yourself into hard things, because you can absolutely do it. And that's where I really want to leave it to you. So hit it up, people. You've got this. Have fun with it. Laugh at yourself once in a while. Nourish. And that's all I've got for you today. I hope you have a fantastic weekend that's coming up, and take care. Bye.